I present the Office for Regional Australia Bill 2019 and the explanatory memorandum. Thanks, Luch.
The Clerk.
First reading, a bill for an act to establish the Office for Regional Australia and for related purposes.
The member for Indo.
Deputy Speaker, in summary, in presenting this bill, I would like to continue my call for the need for an overarching, comprehensive, long-term and non-partisan approach to dealing with regional Australia through a white and green paper process. I want to recognise that good regional policy is absolutely needed for our nation. And third, I want to call out the government's absolute inadequate response to the Region at the Ready report. Deputy Speaker, the government is mistaken if it believes its response to the Region at the Ready, investing in Australia's future, the report tabled last week, demonstrates a strong and ongoing commitment to the future of rural and regional Australia. Deputy Speaker, last week, 8 months after the committee released its report, the government responded to the report's 13 recommendations. These recommendations were the result of a year of analysis, 14 public hearings and more than 200 written submissions. And to say that I am underwhelmed by the government's response is absolutely an understatement. Most disappointing is the lost opportunity to progress the vision outlined in the report for the sustainable growth and development of all of Australia. The response fails to establish a white paper process, instead offers an expert panel. And as a result, colleagues, I have taken action, together with the member for Mayo, to present this private member's bill, the Office for Regional Australia Bill 2019. This bill will address the deficiencies in the government's approach, developing an Office for Regional Australia modelled on the Productivity Commission, to give the community greater input to policy implementation and a means to investigate negative impacts of regulation, to support the development of regional strategic plans and regional deals, and to back the RDA network in their role with research and analysis to drive development in regional Australia. And the bill puts into action the principles and recommendations established by the Select Committee on Regional Development and Decentralisation. Now, it's not rocket science. Why does it take the crossbench to act on a government's report? We're bringing legislation. We, with our limited resources, are bringing legislation to the parliament. We are not saying, oh, we need another month. We are not saying we need another committee. We are taking action. We are doing the hard work that rural and regional Australia needs. And can I say, colleagues, the people in my community, the people in Mayo, the people in Mallee are noticing who's doing the work for regional Australia in this place. So this office will hold inquiries about matters relating to policy. The Office for Regional Australia will support coordination, collaboration and innovation in relation to policy. It will develop and support our RDAs. The Office for Regional Australia will provide advice to the Minister about matters relating to regional deals and regional planning. The Office for Regional Australia will promote public understanding of matters relevant to policy impacting on regional Australia. The bill requires that the Minister table a statement embodying the government's policy for regional Australia, and this may be developed through a formal white paper process. The bill also provides for the development of a parliamentary joint committee on regional development and decentralisation to provide the parliamentary oversight of the work of the office. And just let me take a minute on this one, colleagues. When I was first elected to this House in 2013, I put my hand up to be on the Regional Development Committee. It didn't meet. Nothing happened. I went and saw the Minister, the National Party Minister for Regional Development, and he said, "Oh no, Cathy, you've got it wrong. It does transport." And I said, "Well, how does the parliament get input into regional development?" "Oh, it's an ad hoc committee that meets occasionally." The parliament does not have a committee on regional development, and the House of Representatives does not have a committee on regional development and decentralisation. Can you imagine that? To all the colleagues out there in rural and regional Australia, if you wonder why the government's doing such a bad job, it's because there's no committee here and there's no process here to develop it. So we're saying that absolutely needs to be. It was in the report, and it absolutely needs to be established as a matter of urgency. And a second just example I want to give of my real frustration with the system is to talk about childcare. Last week I tabled in this House a petition from my community about rural childcare. And just give me indulgence of a few minutes to explain my absolute frustration with the lack of government understanding of how rural and regional Australia is different to the cities and how one size doesn't fit all, and how the market conditions in rural and regional Australia are different to the cities. So childcare. The government came up with a really and very useful in some parts way of reforming childcare payment. Needed to be done. But it had a one-size-fits-all process. And it took what we had in rural and regional Australia, which was a really good program of mobile childcare service, got rid of it, basically, and said everybody must be transitioned into centres. So the industry got organised, the Aboriginal community that relied on these mobile childcares, they came and saw us and said, can we have something different? So we tried to work with the government of the day, no action. We tried to get an impact statement done. And said to the minister, questions in writing, have you done an impact statement on what this means for rural and regional Australia? Oh, no, we didn't do that because there's going to be no impact. Can you believe that? That we changed the way childcare is funded and we haven't got an impact statement? Long story short, exactly as we expected to happen, in my community, over Christmas, the childcare centres were stopped funding. And I'm really grateful for the Minister for Education, Dan T, and Member for Wannon, to coming to the rescue. But it should never have happened. So why do we need an Office for Regional Australia? We need an Office for Regional Australia because the regions are different to the cities. We have a really good model in the Productivity Commission for doing inquiries, and we could do so much good work. And I just want to bring to attention to the House another bit of legislation before the House this week about the government setting up money for a drought fund. So it's great to have infrastructure money in the system to build dams, and I know my member for Kennedy really wants more dams. But the whole thing about regional Australia is why we absolutely need infrastructure. We've got people who live there, and the people need to be supported because so much of us work in a voluntary capacity. So while it's great to build a dam, if you don't put money into your committees, into your resilience programs, into your RDAs, into your planning, that money just gets washed away. So invest in the people, which is what we're saying with this office should do. So if I could just finish with my call to action. Whichever party wins at the next election, whichever party gets to stand and sit, on these really important benches here, this report needs to be acted on. And I ask my colleagues in the Labor Party, will Labor commit to acting on the recommendations in regions at the ready? Will Labor commit to an Office of Regional Australia? And where are the National Party in developing and promoting comprehensive regional policies? The comment was that they're already doing a good job. Well, there are not many people in rural and regional Australia who think that the current way of operating, ad hoc, competitive grants, is actually working. Not many of us think it's working, and I call on the National Party to actually step up, to give us a policy, to give us a strategy, to show how if you're investing $100 million in drought, it's actually linked to a strategy, that you're going to have transparency, you're going to engage with your communities, you're going to bring the people with you, that you don't just do a slush fund that the cattle industry can access, that you actually look at communities, you look at businesses, and you develop a way that the whole nation can work together. And I want to just finish my comments because this is such a plea from the heart. This will be my last private member's bill to this parliament because I'm stepping down. I'm going to continue to do my work, and I'm absolutely delighted that in Dindi we've got a fantastic candidate who's going to run. Helen Haynes, welcome to House today, learning your way around, because I know you'll pick up the need for rural and regional Australia for a strong independent voice. I know you'll call out the National Party. I know you'll call out the regional Liberals, and I know you're going to continue this work to be such an articulate, clever, intelligent, wonderful representative for North East Victoria, and I wish you luck. But in bringing my last private member's bill, it's no accident. This is about an Office for Regional Australia. This is the issue that I've championed through all my 6 years, and I have to say how fundamentally underwhelmed I am that the best the government can do is say, oh, we're going to send up another committee and we'll report on the 31st of March. Oh, come on. What's the 31st of March? It's the day almost before the budget comes out. Just a pathetic response. And I just want to finish with Amanda Walsh, writing for The Conversation in June 2018, described the regions at the Ready Port as a far-reaching and highly practical work and a program for regional development. And I urge the government to recognise that an outcome, we need to have strategy, we need to have plan, and for the nation's good, we need to actually put rural and regional Australia at the forefront of our national policy. So thank you very much, Deputy Speaker, and I commend this bill to the House.
Just before the member for Indi sits down, she might want to move that the bill be now read a second time.
Great tragedy, she's leaving.
She could do it in silence.
I move that this bill be now read a second time.
Thank you very